This is A Story of Sorts, the podcast mostly about bookish stuff. Hello everyone, Karina here. On this episode I chat with Silvana Sodde, CEO of the Writer's Guide to the Galaxy. Silvana talks about her work managing writing groups and workshops in Rotterdam, about gentrification and how the Writer's Guide to the Galaxy started with a wish to combine writing with wine. Have a listen. Hi Silvana.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Yes, I am. I don't really know how to pronounce my name in English. It's Italian originally, so Silvana. And in Dutch they say Silvana, which is pretty ugly, but okay.
It's very pretty in Italian though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's
in
really,
Portuguese we would also say Silvana. That's why I didn't ask. I just said it as it felt right.
Yeah. Is it Sil or maybe more like Sil? I don't know in Portuguese. Probably the same as Italian.
I think so. Yeah.
I am the CEO. Do you say it? It sounds so pretentious.
It is. It is what it is. That's what you are.
CEO. I'm the boss now of the Writer's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, I call it a center for written word. We do some spoken word, but mostly written word. And we offer like courses, classes, workshops, all sort of literary and writing events for young and upcoming writers in Rotterdam. Since the pandemic, even beyond Rotterdam, because we're doing a lot of things online now. So people from all over are joining us, which is really nice.
And how long has it been going on?
I think we started about 6.5 years ago, but like really, really small. I was at that moment teaching creative writing at another place, and which was more sort of a traditional a school or a course center. And I had some ideas about doing things differently, mostly having wine while teaching.
That sounds great. Why not?
It really helps. No, but it was like more of a, like it was where I was teaching was a traditional school, and you couldn't have anything basically. And the classes, like they ended at 10, and then the concierge or janitor put you out of the building. So it was a bit strict. So I thought we could do this differently and more, like more low key and more chill, and not just because people are doing this in their free time. It's not a school. People are doing this to educate themselves, and it should be a little more fun, I think, and not like if you're going to school. My boyfriend had a space. He had at that time like a design company with his brother, and in the night they weren't doing anything, so he said you could use that. So that is really how it started, with like just 6 people, one writing group, the Secret Society of Writing Ninjas, which still exists, by the way, but it's a little bit bigger now. So that's really how we started. And I didn't really think of becoming like the organization it is today. I just thought, it would be fun to have like something extra. But like the formula with wine.
So that really was like the basis. That was the basis. We're going to write, but with wine.
Yeah, with wine, and sort of more like a homey environment instead of really a school environment. And it really, really worked. I figured it out, like, I think the first meeting or the second, we noticed that it was much, like it worked better. It sort of, the creativity was more flowing. So then I continued doing that. And like the next semester, there were 2 groups. And then one of the guys made like a joke when he didn't, like, you have homework every week, but a lot of people don't really write or send it in on time. So he joked like we should have like a night shift where we just write like the whole night so we can finish our homework. And I thought, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So we did that. And then I thought, we should do a workshop. And so it sort of grew, not really intentionally, but organically. And now we're here.
That seems very fast, like 6.5 years, and now it's just like this community more than anything.
Yeah.
But did that something come to you by yourself? Did you decide, okay, I don't have this and I would like something like this, so I'm going to create it myself? Or was it like more a group?
It's a little bit of both, I think. So some things I come up with myself. I think especially we're also we're Sense for Creative Writing, but we also have, I joke, like a hidden, it's not so hidden, feminist agenda, intersectional feminist agenda. And I'm really I'm really feminist myself, and I have been, I don't know, since I was like 13 or something. So I think a lot of those sort of events I come up with. But a lot of other things, it's also like, then a student or maybe say, oh, I really would like, I don't know, a workshop about dialogue or how to create characters, and I really listen to what people saying and what their needs are. So I try to organize also that sort of thing. Like most of our courses are in Dutch, or I think everything, but we get a lot of questions about offering courses in English as well. So like next semester we have our first writing group completely in English, taught by a native speaker, a teacher. So it's a bit of both. I really try to listen to what people want, and I have my own secret hidden feminist agenda.
And how many people are right now behind the scenes helping out?
Well, I'm sort of organizing everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. Like, people, you're going to talk later about everything that you're organizing, but from what I see on Instagram, what I follow, it's a lot. There's a lot of courses, workshops. Wow.
Yeah, but it's like the organizing is basically talking with the teacher, putting it online, doing some Instagram posts. So it's not that it's not a lot of work, but it's kind of manageable, because like we have 8, next to myself I also teach, but 8 teachers who like are regular teachers, and they really decide the whole program, how they are organizing their course. Just they do that, like the creative part of that is all them, so I don't really interfere with that at all. And I think that's the most work. How do you teach people? So that's a big part, and I don't do anything with that. I completely trust them to
so you
because they're
just
really
delegate who does what, and then they take care of the...
Well, I sort of ask people to teach here who I consider like are great writers, and have like sort of same mindset, or really understand what a writer's guide is. So I just trust them to to teach, and they're doing really great. So I don't really interfere with that. And yeah, since January we are part of the Cultuurplan. I don't really know how to say that in English, which basically means that we're getting structurally subsidized by the town hall of Rotterdam. It's really great. And now we have budget for some additional people who can help. So today I had a talk with our new social media marketeer. So I'm getting help with that as well. And yeah, and that makes we're able to grow now, because it was sort of doable. No, I'm kind of lying. It was pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine, because you're saying, it kind of sounds very simple the way you put it, but organizing things is a lot of extra work. Even if you like what you're doing, it's a lot of extra work.
No, it was a lot of work, but it was sort of manageable, but the point is that I was like at my maximum capacity, and I couldn't do more. And I really want to, because we get a lot of questions, even like things we don't offer now. So people ask about, for example, screenwriting courses or songwriting courses, which we don't offer now. But I think, I want to organize it as well, but I can't, because I'm just a human being. So now with the subsidy or funding from the town hall, we can do a lot more, which is really exciting. So for the next 4 years, we can use to gradually grow the Writer's Guide, and do even more
Because before you were basically also dependent on the help of the students, right? Economically, I mean, mostly
Um,
was by the goodwill of the people doing the workshops, and also maybe even like buying a coffee or something on the apps and giving what they could spare.
no. It's like for most of our activities, you have to pay. It's like
Hmm.
you buy a ticket. So because we want to offer like our activities to all people, it's like in comparison to other creative writing institutions, it's pretty cheap. So part of the funding comes from like what people pay for tickets, and the other part it was like you call it projectsubsidie. So it's also a type of funding, but it's just for one project, and it's
Hmm.
not for like your whole organization. So it's way less money, and it's also a lot of work to apply for that, because you have to write like plans and make budgets, and it's a lot of work for like not that not a lot of
Hmm.
money. So what is nice about the Cultuurplan, it's for 4 years, which is quite a long time, and they also subsidize like the CEO salary, which project subsidies don't do, and more of like annual rent and like the basis as well, not just this is going to be really technical. So we did had like how do you call it, incidentally, I don't know, like funding, but it was not structural, so it was
Hmm.
a little bit there, a little bit there, and yeah, so it wasn't really enough to keep the whole organization afloat, alive. So we're really happy about the support from the town hall.
How do you build something like that? Because that's my greatest curiosity. I think it's, how do you have an idea like this? I want to build a writing community. How do you make it true? Like, how do you make it work?
Yeah, this is going to be a disappointing answer, but I didn't really had this idea. I'm sorry. I didn't really had this idea. It sort of just gradually happened. So I never thought that it would succeed like this. So I started with this small group of 6 people, and they really liked it. And then
Hmm.
there were like 12 people, and they liked it as well. And I'm like daily surprised. So I don't know what happened, but like on Instagram, the last 2 weeks we gained like 100 followers in 2 weeks, which for me is like a lot. Maybe for other like for influencers, it's nothing, but I think it's a lot for a writing community. And I always like daily, I wonder where are these people coming from? How do they know us? I'm like I don't know how. I'm sorry, I don't really know how it
Because
happened.
let's start just with the 6 people. It was basically you had 6 people who were interested in doing this with you, and then you had a place already,
Yeah.
right? And then everything else was just through social media. You just got more known, or people were just talking with friends and they started
Yeah.
joining in.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think we started with a Facebook page. So
Hmm.
this was like 6 years ago. Then people were still on Facebook, and I did had like a newsletter, but like I don't know, maybe with 40 people on it or something.
That's a lot already.
Yeah, well, it was like ex-students, I think, because I already taught creative writing for, I think, for about 4 or 5 years. So I did have a little bit of experience, and I knew some people who were interested in writing, so that helped. Yeah, I think through social media and like yeah, people talking about it. Yeah, I always kind of when new people come here, I always ask like, oh, how do you know the Writers Guide? And it's yeah, social media or someone recommended it. So that's also nice. Yeah, but I'm still always surprised about the growth. And I think it's also a good thing that I didn't really, I never fully realized what I was doing. Or maybe I I don't know if I would have done it, or I don't know. That sounds really dramatic, but yeah, it's just I really would like to have this narrative that I came up with this brilliant idea one night and I just did it, but it didn't work for me that way. It just happened gradually, and yeah, and I liked it, so I continued doing it. But yeah, I'm still surprised.
But it's usually like that. I think most people who find themselves, that seems like something happened from one day to the other. There's usually a few years behind of work, and then things gradually happen.
Yeah. It doesn't really, like I said, I already taught creative writing for a couple of years, and before that I really did work. I worked with a also a literary foundation who do like projects to encourage young people to read more. So I already was working in like literary Rotterdam for some years. I think it's 15 years now. So yeah, I did have like some experience and a network. So it didn't came out of the blue. That's true. But more like the writer's guide as a whole, I didn't really, when I started, I didn't really have idea that it would be like this. But then, when you see the things that people like what you're doing, you get sort of ambitious and try to do more. So that also happened gradually.
Right now you have like a headquarters, like you have a physical space where people before pandemic could join in. How did that come about?
Well, it's still the same space. So my boyfriend, he offered the space at the time in the evening, but then he and his brother sort of quit their design agency thing, and I really took over the space. Also, very gradually, first in the evening, then also in the weekend, and now it's like it's all mine. So I sort of did, and also we have, which is like the worst timing ever. Last March, the 1st of March, I signed like the lease on a second space right next to our space at the Gouvernestraat, with the idea, we can even do more courses. But then, of course, the pandemic happened and the room is never used. It's still there and never used, empty. So that's a bit of a pity, but I hope that we can use it very soon. So we have like two spaces next to each other.
Yeah, because usually there's a big issue I always find for groups who want to assemble is location. Because, for example, I had an interview. I interviewed Esme, the Heer, from Bored to Death Book Club. And I remember that we were meeting up at Capsa Maria, and it was really nice, except that at some point it was becoming a bit too loud. And then we didn't have anywhere to go. Yeah, the location is so vital sometimes to be able to do these things and to gather with people. Nowadays it's more online, of course, but when things get back to normal, hopefully someday they will.
Yeah, no, it really is. But yeah, I talked to Esme about it as well. That's why we also offered to do Shut Up and Write, her writing event with us. Fortunately, the book club is also it was always in the evening, and we have like classes in the evening here. The thing is that if you have a book club and you meet like once a month, it's not really worth the rent to
Of course.
space. But we have like, again, pre-corona, we have like events almost every day. So then it's really worth the space. And we're also like in a small part of Rotterdam, which isn't gentrificated yet. So it's also affordable, which is nice. The gentrification is really coming close though. So I'm kind of afraid because I can really afford those prices. But yeah, spaces it's really becoming a problem in Rotterdam. I hope they'll figure out something. It's not just for it's for also for artists like studio space. It's becoming a really big problem, and that I don't think it was ever as big a problem as it is now, because Rotterdam before we became popular had enough of space. But now it's all
saturated.
They just I think
no, it's okay. You can talk about it. I mean, we are here to kind of think about that because I work in the south as well. I work at the Phoenix Food Factory, and you do see that. You do, like, I've only moved to Rotterdam 2 years ago, but you do see the places around you changing and these very big buildings growing that the rents are not affordable in a place in town that before was like people didn't really want to go live there, maybe. Like it was more affordable there. So I don't know enough to talk about it, but this is like the idea that I get even from someone who's not from here. Even I get that idea, so just feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like a sort of a different subject. It's becoming more political, but I think it's like a real worry. And before, let's say 10 years ago or something, like there were a lot of neighborhoods in Rotterdam who they weren't really I don't know how to say it diplomatically. They were like pretty bad neighborhoods. And town hall really like enjoyed artists, invited artists to have studios there and really sort of make the neighborhood nicer. The same was with the Phoenix Food Factory. So like Katendrecht was, it was really bad. Like 10, 15 years ago, it was really, really bad. And yeah, you have like this group of entrepreneurs or creative people who come there to pioneer and like make it really good. And then at the exact moment that like the whole neighborhood, it's getting nicer, so they have to move, because then there has to be a museum where really nobody asked for. And it's sort of, that sort of thing kind of pisses me off, because you invite people to invest in like a neighborhood and you use their creativity, and when it starts paying off, you just cast them aside. That's not right.
Yeah. And it's always, of course, special with artists is always people. It all boils down to money in the end, and they don't really care about investing in those artists, even though they are helping create a better place.
Yeah,
So
it's not fair at all. But this is a policy from the town hall. They really try to make Rotterdam a nice place to live, because it was pretty bad before. And I do understand that, but I think they're sort of focused on like attracting rich people or more wealthy people to the city, and they don't really care what happens to the poor people who always have lived there. And I don't think it's like, it's a good thing that they want to make it nicer, because like I said, it was pretty bad and unlivable in some areas. So that's a good thing, but not
at the expense of the people already there. Yes. Of course. Yeah, it's a bit sad that instead of, I think it is a bit sad that it has, of course, the government, I think they have means to focus on restructuring a place if they do want it and make it nicer, without the people living there who might not have many means be taken out of the scene, and without having to pay higher rents and stuff like that. But it never happens that way, unfortunately.
No, it really would help if we stopped voting VVD or right wing.
Listen to the people. And by people, because I have this feeling we had elections in Portugal this weekend, and we have a fascist party, and it came in third, but almost second. And it's terrible, because I have this feeling that people, when they vote for themselves. And I think that as a person in a society, you can't vote for yourself. You have to vote for those who are worse off than you. You got to check your privileges and check who is worse than you are and what that government is doing for them. Because you are probably not going to be very affected by the majority of things that happen. And I don't think people do that. I think a lot of people are like, okay, which are the candidates and what can they do for me?
Yeah.
Without looking around at what can they do for the people who are worse off than me and what are they doing for them. It's very sad.
I know. Yeah, I think there are people who vote just for them, but I also think there are a lot of people who are sort of misled by politicians. So I've noticed like our sort of fascist party, the PVV, a lot of their talking points are really like socialist talking points. Like, for instance, lately they said there should go more money to healthcare, like to support the nurses who are working like really hard, which is, they're absolutely right. It should, but that's more of a labor's talking point or socialist talking point. So I think they sort of steal leftish talking points because a lot of their supporters are also like working class people who are really struggling. But the whole thing is, what they're doing is that they're not being honest. Like, the reason why a lot of working class people are struggling is because of policy of like a right-wing government who did really take away a lot of programs and stuff. And they later blame with immigrants, especially Muslim immigrants, who have nothing to do with this whole thing. So, but people kind of believe that, because for them it's more easier to believe, oh yeah, my Syrian neighbor gets this house and my daughter can't, instead of, oh no, this is the result of like a really like a complicated policy thought out by. So that's I do complicated to understand, I think, for a lot of people. So it's easier to believe those lies, really. So I don't know. I'm not a politician, and I don't really know what the solution is. But I don't think like, so I see like a tendency from the left to sort of picture people who vote for like PVV, or they're sort of to paint them like idiots. Like what Hillary Clinton just said, like a basket of deplorables from Trump supporters. And I don't think that's completely true. These are also people with, like, I think, real concerns, and that are just being misled by, well, politicians like Geert Wilders and stuff, and people like him.
Yeah, because there are different types of misery, in a sense, and it's, I think sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand where's my privilege when I'm struggling.
Yeah,
it's very difficult when you are struggling to see that someone else is less privileged than you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, the problem I think I have more with people who aren't really struggling and still have, like, more middle class people, but like really poor people, I don't really blame. Yeah, it sounds really bad. I don't blame them. I don't get mad when they say stuff like this, because I think, yeah, you're hurting yourself. You don't really know. It's more, that's like why it's sort of, it sounds really bad, but like I sort of understand why people vote for PVV, because like they have some sort of talking points or policies that benefit like working class people. But I don't understand why those same people try to like vote for Thierry Baudet or the Forum, because that
just hate spewing.
Yeah, but it's also, he's ridiculous. So I don't know what he's doing. So I don't really understand that. I think it would be good if like the left-wing parties sort of embrace like those social policies for working class people. I think that would really help. Better healthcare, more housing, that sort of thing. Free child care. Child care. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Well, this I wasn't expecting to have a politics conversation, but this was really nice. But of course, with gentrification, especially in the arts, in the arts center, in the arts side, always comes up, obviously.
Yeah, and also like what I said, I consider myself a feminist, which is also political, and we do a lot of political things. So it's not like I'm not.
You're involved, of course.
Yeah, in some way, like not directly. I'm not a member of a political party or anything, but I do think it's really important, also for writers, to have some sense of your position in your community or in society. And I think you have, maybe not all writers, some also write for, well, entertainment, but it sounds like degrading, and I don't really mean it like that, because we need that as well. But I kind of enjoy writers who also say something about the time they are living, and to have some sort of perspective on that and teach us something.
Because art should be, or could be, maybe should be political. I don't know who said it, but
yeah, I think not all art, because sometimes you just want to forget everything and like read a space opera, or just like, or really cheesy romance novel, because that's also
definitely,
in a sense, it's also political, because you really need that as a form of self-care. I mean, if you're like always on top of the news and everything, it can get a little bit depressing. So sometimes you just need to escape, and I think we need artists as well who offer that. So we need both, like the really political ones who make us think, and just the ones who make us forget the world. I think both are very important, and some can do both in one book, which is like, yeah.
With COVID-19, of course, it's funny because I think this year my podcast, it's going to be asking everyone, how are you dealing with the pandemic? Like, not personally, but also especially artists and writers, publishing, etc. But in this case, the pandemic forced a few activities that you organized to stop, I think, temporarily, and others continued online. Which were the biggest differences before the pandemic, now, and in relation to the activities still happening?
I think we eventually moved everything online. At first, I was afraid to do that because I really didn't know how it would work out, but it it really worked out. So we just
Even the night shift and everything, right? Because I
yeah
was talking, like, on episode 3, I talked with Esme
yeah
about Shut Up and Write, because we kind of I was in one of the events online, and I kind of realized that it was not the same as in person, and that I wasn't paying as much attention or doing the same work as I was doing in person. So I kind of stopped, and then she also decided to stop because it wasn't working. But with you, you just continued.
yeah. I think we did one Shut Up and Write online. Yeah, of course it's different. Like we do the night shift, which is sort of our own event. So Shut Up and Write is from the Board to Death Book Club, and we hosted it when it was still here. No, it is absolutely different, but it works in a different way. So yeah, we have been doing the night shift monthly, and it's a bit like usually the night shift here. Oh, for people who don't know, it's like an writing session through the whole night. So you come here with your laptop and you just write and on whatever you want. Usually we started at like 9:30 p.m. until 4 in the morning, and now we
Crazy.
and cheese.
I'm dead and sleeping at midnight most of the time, especially if I'm writing.
Yeah, we also started doing a morning shift, but we had like
Yeah.
one edition in September when it was still open. So then we started at, I think it was 7 till 1 with breakfast, which was also great. No, but the night shift, how we do it now is we start at 8, like in the evening until midnight. So that's like it's not as long. No, of course it's less. How do you say it? It's less, yeah, gezellig, cozy.
You can use that word because there's no translation for
There's
it.
no
But
translation.
it's cozy and you have
Yeah.
the company.
And here it's like when it's here it's more of like a warm homey vibe. So online it's a bit different, but I do notice that the people who are coming are still very productive, and there's always I think about 10 people who come to the night shift, so that's pretty good as well. No, so yeah, it is different, but it kind of works. I've noticed that maybe that's like a writer thing, but we have a lot of students who are sort of introverts and who prefer staying at home in their pajamas anyway.
Yeah.
So even when there's not a pandemic, so they're having the time of their life. Also, like we do literary events, or we have like open mics and stuff like that. Those were the events that I was really afraid to do online because I think that I thought it wouldn't work. And then I think in May or something, I thought like we postponed some events. And in May, I thought, yeah, but what am I going to do with those? I didn't want to cancel them. So I thought, fuck it, we're just trying to do them online and we'll see how it goes. And I think the first one was the feminist open mic we have, a mic of one's own. And we never had that many participants, public. It was crazy. So it
Wow.
was like, yeah. And then I thought, okay, this
This
works.
works.
Because, and it was like the last event we did, like a last open mic we did was in November, which was like autumn. And it was there were a lot of people, I think about 40, 45, which for us is a lot of people. Really, you don't like literary events. It's different than concerts or something.
Oh,
So
no, definitely. Definitely. I would say, yeah, 45 people, it's already a lot of people. Even sometimes for concerts. I mean,
yeah, so but what was really nice, so I asked people to keep it's basically a Zoom meeting, and like everyone is on mute, but I asked them to keep their cameras on, so you have like an artist or the writer see who they're talking to. And I was like so happy because I was looking at like the people who were there, and then I saw like several people on the couch with like a blanket and potato chips, like they were watching television or something. and they were like watching all the performances, and one girl was like coloring in the coloring, the adult coloring books, because that's why not? Like you can cozy up at home and just listen to feminist performances. So that was like a whole, I never expected that people would treat it like that, like putting on a podcast or a television. So instead of like going out, like usually when we do the open mics, like people dress up and it's like an event, but now it was like a sort of homey event. Yeah.
It must be very nice for people as well to be able to watch it without having to leave the house. Speak for myself, because there are so many events now, especially international, that were like at bookstores and stuff like that, of presentations that you couldn't watch, even interviews, and now suddenly everything is open for you. I know it's not the same, you don't get the same feeling, but at least now you have the ability to, like, you can.
I kind of like it because like before the pandemic, well, I worked a lot and like usually when I had an evening off, or I didn't really want to go anywhere, so I kind of missed a lot of things. And now like I think last week or maybe the week before, Frontaal, which is also a literary how do you call it, literary evening, it's
an event, a
literary event. They had their first online edition as well, and it was like on a Sunday afternoon, and I just stayed in bed like in my pajamas with a blanket and was watching, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe I'm not like most active person, but I kind of liked not having to go out and put pants on and makeup and talk to other people. So I kind of enjoyed that. I'm probably going to miss all the online stuff and staying in your pajamas the whole time when everything is over.
Yeah, because everything is very easy as well. You don't have to worry about half of the things that you have to worry about when you go out. You just like, you put your computer, you're there on time, and that's that. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, I do hope that it will become like socially accepted to go out in your pajamas. I really would like that, like everywhere.
And to take like your blankets.
Yeah, just bring your pajamas, bring your blankets, and just go to the theater. I really hope we're keeping that because it's so comfortable.
Definitely agree. Do you want to talk about the activities that you are hosting in 2021?
But there's a lot.
We have time.
Okay. So I try to. Well, if you want to see what we have, like the easiest way is just to go to the website, which is www.thewritersguide.nl, and then you see everything. We have, well, first we have classes, and we have like everything from beginners to advanced. And most of it is short story writing. We do also have a feminist poetry class, and we have like a couple of classes where you get a little bit from everything. So a little bit of story writing, columns, essays, poetry, weird stuff. We have children's stories class, so a little bit of everything, but basically it's all is creative writing, so fiction, and more focused on stories. But we want to expand on poetry, screenwriting, that sort of thing, but that will happen. And like for several levels. So if you're like, you have never written anything at all, we have a course. And if you're really experienced, we also have what are called writing groups. So that's not a traditional course, but it's basically you write on your own stuff, and like once every 2 or 3 weeks you come together and you give feedback on each other's work, and you get feedback from the teacher. And we have several of those groups who are called the Secret Society of Writing Ninjas, and we have like a advanced group. I call it for like their Hermione's under the writers, which is called the Order of Overachievers. And yeah, we also have people who are like, who already have published a book by the publisher, who are writing on their second book. So that's for like sort of professional writers. So those are the courses in writing groups. And then we have, and those are all for like 4 months, 5 months, like for a longer time. We also have
Is any of that, sorry to interrupt you, but is any of that in English, or are you just going to start now with any in
Yeah,
English?
yeah, we're going to start now with one writing group, which is also called the Secret Society of Writing Ninjas, but then an English edition. So that's the only English one we have now. But we also want to expand that. But also, yeah, we have to see how it goes. And like the English writing group is also completely online, even when after the pandemic it will be online, so not only people in the Netherlands but like the whole world
Over.
can join.
Great.
Yeah, we're keeping some of our courses online as well because we've noticed that some people enjoy online teaching for the reasons I just said, like staying in your pajamas.
But it's also, I think, like, for example, I lived in very small towns all my life, and there was nothing there, especially international stuff. And it would have been so cool to just be able to join in from there in a place where, you know, there's more people, there's more interest in these things. So that's really cool.
Yeah, well, we've noticed like we were sort of forced to go online, and like this semester everything is online, and we have like people from all around the Netherlands, and what you say, also like small villages, and we get emails like, oh, it's so nice, it's online, I can finally join. And like what you said, here's nothing. So because a lot of these sort of courses are like Amsterdam, even in Rotterdam there's not a lot, and Utrecht maybe, but that's sort of it. And we also got people, like we did, I think in November we did a workshop, and I think about half of the people were, no, not maybe half, like 1/3 were from Belgium, like Antwerp, Brussels, which was also great. And then I thought,
Wow.
oh, we could go international.
Yeah, especially like Antwerpen and Brussels, they're big towns.
Yeah,
You should have your own. What are you doing?
well, they probably have, but like this was this really specific intersectional feminist workshop, and I don't think there's a lot of those. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know either. I lived in Belgium for 8 years, but I was closer to the border with the Netherlands. Like I was closer to Eindhoven than I was to Antwerpen or Brussels. So you're also going to talk, I think, about the other activities that you're hosting, but more, not so much workshops. I think you're going to start talking about more the writer's guide. Sorry, not the writer's guide. the feminist prose, the spoken word.
Oh no, I think I was going to say that, yeah, I explained like we have like the longer classes or courses, and we also have like workshops, which is like just an afternoon for people to try out things. And at the moment we have like a series which is called Textual Politics, which is an intersectional feminist workshop and by several authors. And the last thing we have, we call it like literary events or writing events, which are open mics, that sort of things. Also feminist open mics. That's really a platform for our students to share what they have written in the courses or in the writing groups with the public, because that's also a thing I've noticed is that a lot of people work here on their writing, but then there's not really a place to share that with other people, which is sort of a pity. So that's why we organize these events, so people can share.
And when can people start signing up again for the workshops and all that? Because by the time this episode goes out, the workshops will probably be already full, right?
Yeah, probably. Well, if people are interested, they should check the website and they can see what's available. Usually, like the longer courses start 2 times a year in March and in like the end of September, beginning of October. So those are the courses. But then, like through the whole year, we have like workshops and the night shift and the open mics. So that's really, so they can check those out as well. Yeah, but if you want to do a longer course, it's either March or like September. But just check the website what is available.
What was the most amazing thing you have experienced while hosting the writers, while managing it?
Oh, wow.
Sorry if it's a tough question, but
No, yeah, well, there are a lot of amazing. I think one of the most special things is when one of our students published her first book. It happened twice that I also went to their book presentation, and I really started crying like I was their mother. It was kind of embarrassing, but I was so even okay. Even thinking about it makes me cry now
that's
because
so
it's
sweet.
so. Yeah, because people have been with you for some time and they work on their first novel, and then you go to their book presentation and they're there with like their book, and yeah, that's yeah.
You know, you helped out.
Yeah,
You had a
and
role in it, of course.
yes, and they're both how do you call it? The acknowledgements they
Yeah.
like thank us as well, and yeah, yeah, I think that when I read that, that made me cry. Yeah.
Do you want to? Do you want to? I didn't ask you this before, but do you want to say some names about people who are in the group and have been published?
Yeah, so there were two until now were published. The first one was Door jou ben ik mij by Hinke van Appema, which is like an amazing young adult book about an interracial gay relationship. So that's really nice. And the other one was the second one, Lucia van den Brink, Niemand Zoals Hij, about a young girl who is getting mysterious letters from her grandfather and then goes to Japan to figure out what is happening. So those were like the first two, and they were, I think, a half year apart, so it was really close to each other that I was really emotional about. But yeah, some other people are working on their stuff too, and a lot of like, because we have a lot of teachers, I don't know every student personally, so that's a bit different. But like my group, the one
The one you lead?
yeah, lead teach. I want to say another word, but I don't know it, so it's fine. They like last summer, I don't know what happened. Like they sort of, not all, but like 4 or 5 published like short stories in literary magazines, like the one after the other. And I was like, what is happening? Wow. They have been working really hard throughout the pandemic, and they just send it out to literary magazines. And then I was like, also like on Instagram, oh, there's another one, which is also pretty great. I really, yeah, it's really amazing when you see like some people you teach for like a couple of years, and you remember how they came like as a beginner, how they grew, and you see them becoming like these complete full evolved writers, which is so, yeah, that's really great. And also see that you're not the only one who enjoys their writing, but like it's other people too, and even like these literary platforms, and yeah, that's pretty good. One of my students won a feminist poetry award this September, which was also amazing, and I cried as well. I cry a lot. That's yeah,
That's good.
yeah. No, I'm really proud of them. And so there are a lot of these sort of amazing moments, and not even like all my students, sometimes their success is like in a different way. So there was another guy, one of the first 6 who started, like he had his own startup with it was like a vegan food box, and so it has nothing to do with writing, but I was feeling really proud as well, like, oh, you did this, because I think the first time I taught him he was 17 or 18 years old. Yeah. And then you see like how people, I don't know, I feel like a sort of mother to all these kids, and it's really nice to see people that young, find their way in life, and it makes me really happy and emotional.
I find that very normal as well. They go into the world suddenly and they do things. It's very curious because you are talking about people publishing in magazines. I've seen on Instagram 2 people from the Writer's Guide who are in the Writer's Guide that published in A magazine. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah.
And one of them, and I'm not going to say names, but one of them, I know that she talked about how she actually never really wrote. Like, she never saw herself as someone who was like a writer, or that she was any good at it. And then she started going to the sessions, and she even won an award for that as well, for a short story that she wrote. So, and that's amazing. People kind of being curious about something and trying it out and realizing, oh, I'm actually better at this than I thought, and now they're actually published in a magazine.
Yeah, I think it's also so we teach a lot of women or girls or people identifying as female, and I think there's also a sort of problem with this, that I think that girls are taught from a young age to be sort of modest about their capacities. We teach boys different things. We teach boys to be more like confident about their work, and for girls it's more, oh, just stay, you know, humble, and you'll be a nice person. And I think a lot of young women still carry that. So I noticed a little bit of a difference, not always, but between young women and young men, in the sense that young women do need a lot of encouragement to put themselves out there, and to say, no, my writing is good enough, I'm going to send it in, or do a competition or something. So their work, like, it is already good, but they don't really see it, because, like, you understand what I'm
Perfectly. Yeah, you kind of teach girls as well that it's another thing that I find curious is how you say that women are jealous of each other, but then you tell men are competitive. I don't know if that has ever come to light, like if you ever noticed that, but a lot of people say, oh, women can't work together because they're jealous of each other's success. But then you tell men are very competitive, and being competitive is a good thing. And in here is the same. You kind of teach boys to just try it out, just go for it, even if you don't have all the abilities that they are asking of you. Try. And sometimes girls, they miss like one ability, like for example in a CV, and they just don't apply for the job, and men don't do that. So they are not giving themselves the chance to be chosen because they think they're not good enough. But definitely true.
It's really something that I came to realize how bad it was when I started teaching. Like, so we have courses on different levels, but for a lot you just can, you can buy a ticket. And I noticed that a lot of men who were at a beginner's level, they just buy a ticket for an advanced class because they think they can do it. And the other way around, like people who want, like women who have 10 years of writing experience, studied English or Dutch or anything, they know what they're doing, they want to start at a beginner's level. It's sort of, it doesn't it's really good to have a sort of objective assessment of your level and what you are doing, and it's kind of difficult, I think. So, like, part of teaching is not really of like the biggest part of teaching is not really explaining people like what is a narrator, or how do you write a dialogue, but more like even a sort of therapist saying, no, you can do this, you're good enough, go, like this. So we do this a lot, and they also encourage each other. So in my experience, women aren't jealous of each other. I find women really supportive of each other, like especially here. They're so, it's like, even sometimes then when I'm like criticizing their work because I think they should improve, then the rest of the students go, no, I really liked it, like, and then I think, okay, you could be less supportive of each other and just listen to me, the teacher. So, I think this whole, like, maybe the jealousy, it was another time, but it's not my experience with young women at this moment. No, not at all.
I'm really glad that, because I do think and I do see that things are changing, but I do maybe the way that I grew up, and it's different. I grew up in Portugal, so maybe the ideas are also different, but this is what I grew up hearing, is that, oh, women are just jealous of each other and are jealous of what the other one has. And I always found it very weird how, again, you call women jealous, but then you call men for the exact same things competitive. Luckily, it is changing a lot, and you see like this women supporting women and girls just supporting each other, and it's great. And it's great to see as well that that it's happening in the writers galaxy.
I think you're right that there's a lot of changing. I think the last 5 to 10 years, we see incredible changes when it's come on a lot of social issues. And you see like people who have been marginalized for centuries are finding their voice or claiming their voice. They already had their voice, but there's a lot of and more people are starting to listen. And I think that's really amazing. Like, I never thought that it would happen like this. So, like, I'm a bit older. Like, when I was young in the 90s, and my father is Italian, so he came from a sort of traditional household. I think I was feminist on a young age. Even I didn't really knew that I was feminist at that time, but in retrospect, I was. And I also always have found myself a bit weird, or like I had ideas that weren't common. And now, like, I'm getting older, and I'm also like, I'm not the most militant in the group, and that's kind of nice that like these young girls are really like they go outside and protest, like women's marches, all those sort of things. And I kind of, it makes me really happy. Sort of think like I can sort of retire mentally and just let them do the work, which is kind of nice. And I never expected that some sort of like these things are like so common. So I knew that when I was like 15, 16, I thought I always was sort of more career focused than like boy focused or home focused. And I thought it was really weird. People told me that it was really weird. And now it's not weird. It's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Like, I'm 34. Also, like, as I grew up, you have like the norm and what is not the norm. And for example, for my generation, it's more normal. But the generation of my brother, that is 8 years older than me, it was not normal, for example, to live together before getting married.
Yeah.
Something like for us, it's just super normal nowadays. So there are a lot of different things, and I have a lot of hope in newer generations, because they sometimes you see them with 15, 16, and they are so aware of social problems that I wasn't aware, or I didn't think about until I was like in my 20s. So I'm so hopeful for them, honestly.
Yeah, me as well. Yeah, it's really great to see it. And there's still like there's a lot of shit happening in the world, and there's a lot that needs to be done. And also you see some sort of counter reaction at the moment, what we're talking about, from like right-wing things and men rights groups and all that sort of nonsense. Yeah, but I think that's sort of normal. And I hope it's like temporary. We'll see. Yeah, we don't know what happens. But I'm kind of happy to see these girls and young women just standing there and sort of getting the confidence in themselves and in their work, and thinking about it makes me cry as well.
You are allowed to cry on this podcast. Anyone is allowed to cry here. What is the most challenging of hosting everything, managing everything, of being the CEO?
Sort of allowing myself to have unproductive time. So this is something I'm still really learning. It's sort of dangerous to have like work you really, really enjoy, because then you're doing it like all of the time, which isn't really healthy. So for me, it's really a challenge to do like a whole day of doing nothing and not checking mail and so, which I'm incapable of doing. It's really finding that balance, like work and just doing nothing, or hobbies. I don't really have hobbies. So for me, that's a really big challenge. And I think in the past, because I was doing like most of the work myself, and I still wanted to do a lot of events that I really kind of ignored myself and also my sort of my body as well, because I thought, no, I want to do is you should do all of this because it's really good, it's really nice, people are asking for it. And I sort of forgot myself in the whole process. So even if your work is like amazing, you should not do it like 60 hours in the week. It's not healthy. So that for me was really the biggest challenge, to sort of take a step back, do less events, and have more time for myself and sort of, just relaxing.
I was going to ask what is the most rewarding, but maybe you already answered before.
Everything.
I think it's, yeah.
No, it's really like everything it's from like the big moments of one publishing a book, but it's also, for instance, on one of a feminist open mic, there was a 13-year-old girl, student of ours, who did like this amazing poem, and I was, yeah, that's also rewarding to see like this 13-year-old girl just standing there or sitting there. It was online. I don't know. It's so, yeah, everything is rewarding.
That's so nice to hear. It's just so great. And do you have a tip or advice for someone who lives somewhere without this type of organization and would like to start one?
Yeah, just do it and don't really think about it, because I think if you're really thinking about it, you don't want to do it because it's a lot of work. No, I think you should just try and like, if you can, because it's also, it does take time and money in the beginning, so you need to have that. But if you have an idea and you think it's a good idea, just try it, and you can always see if it works, or you never really know, I think. Well, maybe some things you know that, but yeah. And I don't, and like, if you start small, like I did, because when I started, I didn't really have any time or money to do it. So I really started small. So it's also not, you don't really have to start really big right away. You can just, with like one book club or one writing group or one workshop or just whatever. Or even like, if you want to do something else besides writing, just a knitting group or gardening, I don't know, just start small and find people who like like-minded people who enjoy it as well. What we talked about before, like women, because I think there was research that women apply to jobs when they have like 100% of the qualifications, and men when they have like 60%.
Yeah.
So we need to embrace that sort of male mentality. Even if you think, I have no idea what I'm doing, you'll figure it out along the way. And you can always ask for help. There are a lot of people who want to support you. People in general are really nice. And if you ask them for help, they usually give it to you. So just try it. Yeah.
I love what you just said, that people in general are really nice, because I do believe that. But I hear a lot of people saying that the world is like shite.
No.
And I do really believe that people in general are really nice. So thank you for putting the message out there as well.
And my experience is this, like what I was saying before, women really like support other women. Like in several moments in my career, I sort of didn't know what I was doing, and I asked for help, and I always got it. So by other women mostly. Yeah, no, I do believe people are nice. Even the ones who don't seem nice, they almost all have a really good reason for not being nice. Usually it's somewhere in their childhood, and it's the fault of their parents. No, but it's really good to have more empathy as human beings. Like, okay, so this person is being an asshole, but why is he being an asshole? A lot of people have good reasons to be an asshole.
Do you have any personal projects that you would like to talk about?
Besides the writer's guide?
Yes. Like writing, or it's no problem if you don't, because you already said that it's your hobby as well, so.
Well, at the moment, I'm really enjoy watching a drag queen, Juno Birch, playing The Sims. So that's my project for the time being. Now, I like the Writer's Guide is a full-time job, and it is really good for me to do not much besides that, just chill, hang with my boyfriend and with friends, and watch drag queens play The Sims. It's really relaxing. So yeah.
And how can people find you online?
So the website, which is thewritersguide.nl, and Instagram, which is @thewritersguide to the galaxy. Those are like the site is where you can find like all the info and the ticket links. And Instagram, we put information about our events, but also like writing memes. I love like really cheesy writing memes, and also like some writing tips or writing prompts, and other like activities about writing or literature or books that are happening in the city, other open mics or book clubs and just other stuff. So you can, if you're interested in reading and writing, you should really follow us.
Great. And now, this is a question that I make everyone. It's the last question of the podcast. An all-time favorite book and a book you would recommend right now. And I gotta say, it doesn't have to be one, just not 20, but it doesn't have to be just one of each, because I know this is a tough question.
Yeah, it's impossible for book lovers to reply to this. So I think the books I read the most are Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, and Jane Eyre. So I sort of once every 2-3 years I read them, and I still enjoy them. So they're also they're a combination of like being really feminist, but also sort of comforting and escapism. I really enjoy them. And Harry Potter was always a favorite of mine, but I reread it last year, and I really, so it always bothered me how Hermione was pictured, but I usually got over it. But this year, I don't know why. It was, yeah, maybe also because of J.K. Rowling's comments about trans women, which also really bothered me. I don't know.
For me, Harry Potter happened a bit like that. I was like, Harry Potter was kind of like everything. And then J.K. Rowling did what she did. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't care about this anymore. Like, I can understand you enjoying the books from the books themselves, even though there are a lot of problems the way that they depict also the, I forgot the name. It's not the elves, but the people in the bank elves. Is the elves and everything. Yeah, both, exactly. Like there's a lot of problems that you kind of find in the books, but especially because of what she said and like the way that she started using her platform, it was really just a question of I am not going to address it anymore, as if it didn't exist. But I haven't read the books in quite a few years. But I do understand that when people explain this was problematic, you kind of remember what you've read and you realize, yeah, I didn't know, but yes, it is problematic. But I think it does happen like that as well. Like you have an author that you really like, but then something in you kind of shifts that you can't ignore.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably changed, but like, okay, so if we're being honest, a lot of literature is problematic.
Oh, definitely.
Like almost everything that is written before 2005 is problematic. I don't think that's not a reason you shouldn't read it. You should still read it, even just to know that what has been said. And I think you can even enjoy it. Like I think 2 years ago, I was reading My Uncle Oswald by Roahl Dahl, which is kind of rape after rape after rape, which is it's not good. But it's a really well-written book. So I found myself, I kind of enjoyed it. And I was also repulsed at the same time, which is kind of a weird combination.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the new Twilight because that's trash, but it's trash I wanted to go back to. It's trash from my teenage years that I wanted to feel again. But I think like as long as you stay curious about it, as long as you stay critic about those things, I don't think there's a problem with enjoying just that.
Yeah, no, but I think like there's some sort of tendency, what they call cancel culture, what I don't really believe in. It's sort of holding people accountable for what they are doing. But okay, that's their thing. I don't think that you should really stop enjoying art if a writer is problematic. But in like what you said, you should be critical in what you're reading. And the thing with J.K. Rowling is even before her comments about trans women, I always had a problem with Hermione, because she's being picked. She's like, without Hermione, like everyone would be dead in the first book, everyone. Yes. But so she's a genius and she's like the heroine of this story. But the book is called Harry Potter. That's problem one. It shouldn't be called Harry Potter. It should be called Hermione. Okay. So, and then she's being treated like she's like annoying and a know-it-all, and like everything why girls tend to make themselves smaller, what we're talking about. Because if you don't, if you're being a Hermione, you get put down like the whole time. So this is really problematic. Like the treatment of the house elves is, I don't even have words for that. And then again, it's Hermione who is like the only one who's coming, like standing up for the house elves. And again, she she's the only one and the annoying person. I think the bankers.
Yes.
Okay.
Anti-Semitic completely, especially in the depiction in the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Then there's like fat shaming all over the whole book.
Yes.
The whole series. So it's like everything that could be wrong with it is. On the other hand, it's also really good. And I kind of enjoy how she still, besides having her own problems, explains how like fascism can really slowly enter a society, and we could learn something from that. So it's not completely shit.
No. You learn a lot from, especially like this. The attitude of Ron is a very specific character, because Ron is not a bad guy.
No.
But for example, with the house elves, it just says, "Oh, they like doing that work," which is what a lot of people said of slavery.
I know.
You know, so it's like it's so real in some ways.
But that I don't understand about that this was sort of the end conclusion about the house elves. I don't get that. That's, I think, the worst aspect for me about the book, because like it was written in like the 90s, and then feminism had a different role in society, and we thought a lot different about women at that time. But at that time, slavery, I think we were at the conclusion at that time, like the same conclusion that we were now. So I don't really understand why she sort of left it at that conclusion, because in the end, like all the house elves, they wanted to be house elves except for Dobby. So why has no one told her, girl, do you really want to put that in like that? I don't understand that.
No.
I sort of understand the lack of feminism and the fat shaming and all that sort of thing, because that's sort of new. But like slavery, I thought we already had that conclusion in 97, 98 or
yeah, I know. But anyway,
yeah, this was my favorite book of all time, but then with like an essay about how it's wrong. Okay, and a book I would recommend at the moment is from one of my teachers, of our teachers. It was her debut novel, Simone Atangana. I pronounce her name wrong.
Yes.
Oh no, have you read it?
I haven't, because it's in Dutch. And it's quite difficult to me. Like I'm reading now a few books in Dutch. Like I read Het Vogelhuis from Eva Meyer. I'm reading After from Anna Bervoorts. But that one we keep recommending, because like my bosses at the bookstore, they've read it, and yeah, it's so necessary as well. But go on, sorry.
No, it's really, I usually don't I don't always enjoy Dutch literature because it's a lot of the same. Controversial statement. It's a lot of, yeah, I'm sorry, but it's a lot of the same. So this was really nice because it was kind of different than normal.
Usual. Can you say the title? Because I think I interrupted you before you said the title.
Oh, Confrontaties.
Yeah.
By Simone Atangana Bekono. I kind of it's really, really well written. It's about this young girl who's in a youth detention center. There's not much happening, like you're in her head like the whole time, which is extremely difficult for a writer to do, because like it's much easier to have like a mystery or an explosion and like some action, and that's sort of easier. But to be inside a person's head the whole time, it's like really difficult, and she does it really well. And I also what I really enjoy is like the style of how it's written. It kind of evolves in like it's not that she's getting crazy in there or something, but when it gets really intense, like the rhythm of the sentences, they get like a whole different vibe, and it's like it's written extremely well. Yeah, I really enjoy. And also it really talks about microaggressions, racism in a sense, but really from a personal view. So that was also really interesting. So it's kind of a heavy themed, but then it's also incredibly funny. I like, a lot of times I was really laughing because the main character is like, it's really smart, but also like a really funny, witty person. So I was so impressed by the whole book, like so a lot of different things in one book, and I read it in like 2 days, which also never happens. So yeah, I was so impressed. And okay, so maybe I'm a little bit biased because she is one of our teachers and I know her pretty well, and she's also an amazing person. So I think I'm kind of biased, but I loved it. I really do.
I only heard good reviews from it. I mean, from people who go to the bookstore, everybody said good things. I didn't hear anyone saying one bad thing about it. So
No, she had like great reviews also. Like it, yeah, I think it's doing really, really well, and I'm really happy for her. Yeah, it's some work writing a novel, and she finished it during the pandemic, which is like,
wow.
She should win an award just for that. that's yeah. So I highly, highly recommend that. But maybe it's not necessary because everyone is recommending it.
But yeah, let's hope enough people recommend it, or that maybe, I don't know, maybe someone listens to this and decides to translate it to English, because that would be very helpful. Since it's only...
She also published a volume of poetry, and that got translated into English just recently. I think the presentation was last week or something. So you you can check out her poetry, because that's translated.
Great. I can check it out.
I hope it gets translated as well. I think it would be interesting also for an international public. It's really good.
Great. Silvana, thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
You're very welcome. I had a great time.
It was great talking to you.
Thanks. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you for accepting it. You can access today's show's notes via my pod page, which you can find along with all of my social media links at linktree/Carina Pereira. In there you'll also find a link to a Story of Sorts playlist available on Libra FM, containing the audiobooks recommended by our guests, which will be updated as the show progresses. If you'd like to give Libra FM a try, you can use the code A Story of Sorts at checkout to get 2 books for the price of 1. This offer is valid for new Libra FM members in the US and Canada. Libra FM is an audiobook platform which allows you to buy audiobooks directly from an indie bookstore. Check them out. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting A Story of Sorts on Patreon. Patreon is a platform which allows you to contribute monthly to the podcast in exchange for extra content, such as early access to episodes, a shout out at the end of an episode and on Instagram, and choosing a theme for me to talk about on the podcast. You can become a patron at patreon.com/A Story of Sorts. I'd also be very grateful if you would simply leave a review and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. A new bonus episode with my reads of February will be uploaded sometime next week, so keep your ears peeled for that. And I'll be back in 2 weeks with a new interview. I'll talk to you then, and thank you for listening.